Welcome to the deep dive where we try to uncover some of those unsung heroes of the global economy. Have you ever stopped to think about the huge number of industries that, well, they just don't grab the headlines, but they're absolutely critical to how we live every day? The hidden technology is often totally out of sight, silently powering everything we use and see. Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of those. It's an essential but maybe largely unseen force, the dry glue furnace market. Now, I know that might sound a bit obscure, but trust us, its role in modern manufacturing and industrial development worldwide, it's surprisingly vital.
It really is. And our mission today is, well, to truly understand this sector. We're going to dive into some source material from cognitive market research. We want to unpack exactly what dry glue furnaces are, what the global market trends look like, and maybe most importantly, why they matter to the bigger industrial picture. We're aiming to give you a shortcut, really, to being well-informed about this foundational, often overlooked industry.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this. Because when I first heard dry glue furnace, I admit I pictured something pretty specific, maybe from an old engineering textbook. What exactly is it, and why are we dedicating a deep dive to it?
Right. Well, it's definitely more than just a fancy oven, though heating is key. At its core, a dry glue furnace is a precision industrial heating system. It's designed very specifically to activate or cure certain types of dry adhesives. So think about glues that come in forms like film or powder or even pellets. Unlike, the traditional wet glues you might think of, these dry applications give you incredibly strong, very clean bonds. And crucially, they can be cured super rapidly under really controlled temperature, sometimes pressure too. And that makes them indispensable for the kind of high-speed, high-volume production lines that define so much of modern manufacturing.
Okay. So these are the unseen technologies literally holding industries together across the globe, sort of the silent partners. They're ensuring everything from, say, your flat pack furniture staying solid for years
Exactly.
to maybe that e-commerce package actually surviving a cross-country journey intact.
Precisely. The precision they offer lets manufacturers scale up production massively without sacrificing the integrity of the product. It's key.
And it's clearly big business then, right? The numbers we saw from cognitive market research, they really tell a story here.
They certainly do. This isn't some small, stagnant niche corner of the market. The global dry glue furnace market, it was valued at a pretty robust $418.8 million back in 2021.
418 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not just holding steady, is it? What kind of growth are we talking about for something so, well, foundational? Is it a slow burn or something more significant?
Oh, we're definitely looking at significant growth. The projection is for it to reach around $760.8 million by 2033.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that translates to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 5.1%,
5.1%.
which indicates, not a fleeting trend, but really consistent, steady expansion. It directly reflects rising demand in those major sectors that underpin our modern economy.
That's quite a leap for what, on the surface, seems like such specialized equipment. But I guess that growth isn't uniform across the globe, though. The sources really highlight some, well, fascinating regional differences, some clear leaders emerging.
Absolutely. Asia Pacific is definitely the heavyweight in this space.
Right.
It accounted for over $136.5 million back in 2021, and it's projected to go past $253 million by 2033.
Huge.
It is. And China alone accounts for nearly half of that demand. That's largely driven by its dominance in manufacturing, obviously, and those massive furniture and packaging industries. But what's also really noteworthy are some emerging hotspots like Australia and Southeast Asia. They're showing really strong growth rates above 6%, even 7%. Yeah. And that suggests that regional industrial expansions, plus this push for modernized production facilities, are really fueling higher adoption of these furnaces there.
Okay, so Asia Pacific has massive scale, rapid growth. But if we shift focus a bit, maybe look westwards, how does Europe, with its sort of legacy of advanced manufacturing, how does it compare in this specialized market?
Europe shows a very robust market, too. It stood at about $108.9 million in 2021.
Okay.
And it's expected to reach nearly $207 million by 2033. That comes with a healthy CGR of 5.5%. So pretty strong growth there as well. Countries like Italy, France, Germany, the UK, they're all strong performers.
Yeah.
Italy and Luxembourg, though, they particularly stand out. Some of the highest growth rates, they get over that 6% to 7% CGR mark.
Interesting. Why them specifically?
Well, it seems to reflect their continuous focus on, advanced manufacturing upgrades, plus significant investments in industries that are really adhesive intensive but high value.
Hmm.
Things like specialized woodworking, automotive components, that sort of thing.
Got it. And of course, you can't really have a global economic discussion without talking about North America. What's the story there for these dry glue furnaces?
Right, North America is another key player. It was valued at $124 million in 2021, projected to grow to nearly $218 million by 2033.
Also strong growth.
Decent growth, yes. And that's primarily driven by the United States. The adoption here seems closely tied to that ongoing modernization of industrial equipment that we see everywhere. Plus, there's just very steady demand from its massive packaging and construction sectors. They're always innovating, always looking for more efficiency.
Okay. And looking further south, the report mentioned Latin America showing particularly strong momentum. KDRs between 6 and 7%. That sounds like a region really making some strides.
They absolutely are. Countries like Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Chile, they're really accelerating their industrial development. And as various industries expand across the region, there's just a growing appetite for these durable, efficient glue furnace technologies to support larger scale production. It mirrors the modernization trends we see elsewhere, signaling a real move towards more sophisticated manufacturing.
That paints a fascinating picture of, well, global growth, but also these regional differences. But then in contrast to these places that are expanding rapidly, the report highlighted the Middle East and Africa experiencing relatively slower growth. That's quite a stark difference.
It is, yeah.
What are some of the broader economic factors maybe explaining that slower adoption? Are there specific industry bottlenecks or perhaps infrastructure limitations at play there?
That's a really important observation. Countries like Egypt, Turkey, South Africa, Nigeria, they remain smaller markets in this specific sector. Their CAGR rates are ranging between a more moderate 1% and maybe 2.5%,
Much lower.
much lower. And these regions, generally speaking, they do face challenges. Things like more limited industrial investments compared to, say, the global powerhouses. And also often a slower, perhaps more cautious adoption of highly specialized manufacturing equipment like this. It often reflects broader economic development stages, the maturity of their industrial sectors.
Yeah.
They might be prioritizing other foundational investments first.
That really helps put the regional data into perspective.
Okay, so if we step back now and look at the whole global landscape, what are the big overarching forces shaping this market? It feels like there are a few key drivers cropping up across many of these regions.
You're spot on. The source material really boils it down to three key forces that are powering this market's expansion globally. First is industrial modernization. And it's not just about buying newer machines. It's increasingly about adopting automation, robotics in factories.
Right, Industry 4.0.
Exactly. These really high-speed assembly lines, they demand adhesives that cure almost instantly, very consistently. And that's where dry glue furnaces truly shine compared to older methods. They're critical enablers for those efficiency goals. Second, as we've touched upon, the expanding construction and furniture industries. This is particularly evident in places like Asia and Latin America. They need really robust, durable, adhesive applications for everything from, say, prefabricated housing components to mass-produced furniture.
Makes sense. And third, the growing packaging needs. This one is directly linked to the absolute boom in e-commerce. Think about it. Every package goes through pretty rigorous handling in transit. So having robust, furnace-cured adhesives becomes a kind of silent necessity. It helps reduce product damage, reduces returns, that directly impacts a company's bottom line and the overall resilience of the supply chain.
It's incredible, really, how these seemingly distinct forces, modernization, construction, e-commerce, packaging, they all collectively power the silent but, well, significant growth of this essential market, making sure everything from your new bookcase to your online order arrives intact and durable. It really shows the hidden layers of our global economy.
Precisely. It's quite literally an industry that holds things together.
So just to recap our deep dive then. While it's certainly not as flashy or visible as maybe some high-tech industries, the dry glue furnace sector is quietly powering industries right across the globe. Its future looks pretty steady, with, stronger growth pockets in Asia-Pacific, Europe, and Latin America, and stable progress elsewhere. And this growth, it's consistently driven by that industrial modernization trend, the expansion of construction and furniture, and our ever-increasing global need for reliable packaging. It really highlights how interconnected everything is, even down to industrial adhesives.
It's a great testament to these specialized foundational technologies that really make so much else possible in our modern world.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other seemingly niche, maybe under the radar technologies are absolutely fundamental to the global economy and to our everyday lives? Maybe next time you unbox something or even just sit on a piece of furniture, you might give a little nod to the unseen infrastructure like the dry glue furnace that helps make our modern world function.